Hello Capricorn, this is a timeless tarot reading. For this tarot reading I'm using my own tarot cards and so far it appears to me that it's a quite unusual tarot reading. So what I'm getting here is that there's a person, most likely you, kind of resignated, tired. I feel as if you might have some people around you who just don't comprehend some very basic things. Like maybe you feel quite alone, but not possibly in a negative way. I mean, sometimes if we're surrounded by people who are just not aligned with us, we prefer to be alone. And that's what I'm seeing here. Like you just want to withdraw, not only externally, because sometimes we can break up friendships, we can just dissolve certain relationships and go home alone, just be physically alone, but in our thoughts we are still somehow connected to them. And even if we are not consciously thinking of them, like spiritually, energetically, we are often still connected. And I feel as if you just have been through a lot of tiring realizations, and I think you just feel like you want to numb yourself. And it's a weird thing because I have just recently started to get back into tarot. I quit all this stuff like for more than a year. And just due to a certain epiphany I was having just a few days ago, I somehow got back into tarot. And I pulled out my old tarot cards that I drew like around 2 years ago. And I just recently posted some readings that were also about alcohol, and now I'm afraid that people will think like, oh, she's the alcoholic tarot reader because she speaks of alcohol so often, but I am actually the opposite. I never understood how people could become alcoholic. Trust me, I have suffered a lot in my life. I have been through a lot, like some of the most terrible things that you can imagine. I don't mean terrible breakups and all that stuff or terrible divorces. Like, I mean like really terrible things. And sometimes, I hope I don't offend anyone if I say it like that, sometimes I wished I could have become an alcoholic to numb myself, but I don't like the taste of alcohol. Especially if it's too much, it quickly makes me become nauseous. So don't get me wrong, just because I'm talking a lot about alcohol, I don't know why it's so ironic, you know. I'm not a drinker, but I've just been doing tarot for like 4 or 5 days now, and all the time there's something about alcohol. Sorry, there's so much alcohol in this reading that's terrible. But actually I have to say, it's not a negative reading at all. And come on, I just don't want to get lost in that alcohol topic. Just let's accept that there's a lot of alcohol in this reading. So I feel like you want to numb yourself, not like excessively. You are not overdoing it. That's not what I'm seeing. It's just like a tiny sip, or I don't know, whatever else you could take in to numb yourself. I hope nothing terribly chemical. But that's what it looks like right here. Because you just want to shut off. And I don't want to sound irresponsible, but maybe sometimes that is okay. If the world is just being too much, as long as we don't become addicted to certain things, sometimes it's just too much. And that is actually not yet the weird part that I'm getting about this reading. And don't get me wrong, it's not weird in a negative sense. So whatever you took to numb yourself, it makes me feel like it is pulling you into the ether, into the astral realm, into some deeper spiritual realm. Let me just go through the cards. There's toxic, asleep, summer, resistance, laziness, acceptance, joy, order, and at the bottom of the deck we have ignorance. Though I think no card in this reading is negative. I think the toxic, the laziness card, wait, I'm gonna show you this image. It's a little bit of a cliche. I thought it was funny, so I drew it that way. Beer, beer, beer. Okay. Sorry to all men who might be watching this. It looks a little bit sexist, as if only men would become like this. There are probably also women. Oh my god, I'm sorry, it's also sexist. Because there's another man, sorry it's blurry, sipping his cocktail at the beach. And this is the card that gives me the weirdest vibes, but in a good way, of this reading. Because it is not literally about you falling asleep after being intoxicated with something and then fantasizing about having a vacation at a tropical island or something like that. No, I'm psychic, so I don't go literally through the cards. I go by my psychic intuition, and this card very strongly reflects to me that when you fall asleep, you don't actually fall asleep. You will dive through something. You will have a very intense spiritual trip, so to say. And it's not imaginary because you got drunk or you took something. Sometimes people take drugs and then they think they are super spiritual because they have some hallucination. That's not the case in this reading. What I'm seeing is someone who is really very awake while almost falling asleep, going through this astral stuff, like having this intense astral journey. And then there's this resistance card, and at first it didn't make sense to me because everything looks so okay. You might be a little bit depressed and resignated, but then you start to relax and you start to dive through something really nice. And then suddenly there's this resistance card, so how does that make sense? But then I realized it is not your energy, it is someone else. I feel as if in the astral realm, you will realize, you will be able to encounter a dark entity, and you will realize who this entity is physically in your life. For example, oh my god, I might sound so spooky and weird right now, I'm sorry. When you encounter this presence in the astral realm, you will immediately know who that is in your social environment, and you will not be bothered by it. It's someone who is pissed off because you are finding a way to withdraw energetically, not only physically. You probably have already withdrawn from this person physically, socially, but now inwardly, deeply spiritually, on the energetic level, you are also withdrawing from this person. You are pulling your energies back. And the person is very resistant towards that. Then this card, laziness, I feel it's your own energy, but not in a negative way. I know laziness always sounds negative, but I think you will just be too tired and resignated to give a shit about the anger of this person. Would just turn your back on this person and just keep withdrawing into yourself. Like, it doesn't bother you, just too tired to get angry. Then we shift from this state, from this kind of, what is the English word? The German word is Gleichgültigkeit. When you just don't care. But you're also not super happy. It's like you just don't care. But then from this just not caring state, you quickly jump into very, very, very nice energy, acceptance, joy, and order. And when I speak of order, I don't mean like you're cleaning your apartment or, I don't know, doing your tax declaration or all this stuff. You could be doing that too, but it's like an internal order. Like these people who have caused this chaos, this negative energy, this chaotic energy in your system, they will also inwardly be gone. And you will be able to restore order in your energy system and order then also in your private, physical, personal life. It just feels very calm, very clear. There's a lot of clarity. At the bottom of the deck, I already told you, we have the ignorance card. And usually I would label that as a rather negative trait, or I don't know if ignorance is a trait. I mean, some people are continuously quite ignorant. You know, I decided to, sorry, it's so blurry. I decided to draw this woman who is closing her eyes, putting her hands on her eyes because she doesn't want to see this burning city. She just, you know, like this toxic positivity. She just doesn't want to face reality because it's too painful. So, and that's actually not a good thing. It's just ignorant. But in this reading, I see the card from a different angle. I think you deserve your ignorance. Like, you know, it's not real ignorance. You have already learned your lesson. You have already seen the truth about the people around you. And you can't change them, and you just want to leave this whole situation. You can only change yourself, but sometimes we don't have to change ourselves because there's nothing wrong with us. Sometimes it is okay to see that many people around us are just crazy. And I think it's a justified kind of ignorance because it's not real ignorance. Like in this case, the people that I'm doing this reading for, they are not truly ignorant. Even if they are closing their eyes, in their heads, they know what is happening exactly, but they just don't want to see and hear it anymore because they can't help the people around them, because the people around them don't want to change. So she's running away from that. And below that card, there is the card right path. So in this case, I think really your ignorance is justified. And by just leaving the situation, leaving these people, you are choosing the right path. And below that, we have awake. This woman on the picture, she's wide awake. She's really aware of what's happening, and she's looking at the good things. Maybe not necessarily in life as living on physical earth, because living on physical earth is often quite hard, especially if you are very awake and you see a lot of things. But she's not looking down on earth, she's looking up. She's in her astral realm. It's a very spiritual reading. It really surprised me. I was expecting something quite earthly, as you know, in the past days I've done a lot of readings already, and they were totally different from this one. It's very interesting. So let me just leave it here. I hope that it helps someone, and just, yeah. Thank you for watching.